Good afternoon. Welcome to SEC Baseball Reaction. I'm your host, Chris Lee, joined by Jay Greason and Graham Doty here at Southeastern 16. Gentlemen, we got a lot of stuff to unpack today as we are headed to the most fun and interesting part of the college baseball season. Watching conference tournaments in front of me, got the scoreboards on so I can monitor what's going on across the country. We'll take your questions. We'll take your comments. We will break down a lot of stuff for you. Here's what's on the list of topics for today. We've got Texas A&M staying alive. The Aggies move on. They'll face LSU today, approximately 6:30 Central after they beat Auburn. But Jace Laviolette, no more for the Aggies, it appears. I think he broke his hand. They're talking about pinch running him. But who are we kidding? That's not a major role. Don't know that I do it anyway. We'll hit on the Aggies in a minute. We'll talk about Auburn, whether the Tigers will be hosting 1 weekend or two. Tennessee, I think, has climbed into the hosting picture. I was there already. And spoiler alert, we'll talk about the Vols and seeding where I think they stand. And I did this on purpose. I know regional projections are coming out this morning other places. I have purposely not looked at anything else as to not bias my thinking and just kind of do it for myself. Now, when I drop those, we can talk about other places and what they've got and debate who's right and who's wrong. But I did it that way on purpose. I wanted to come up with my own opinion of things and give it to you straight the way I see it. Vanderbilt is moving on. Even the series with Oklahoma, JD Thompson and the bullpen were great and held the Sooners to 2 hits. Vanderbilt now number 1 in the RPI and the KPI. Can Vanderbilt climb to 1 overall? I think that's on the table. I think that's a discussion. I'm not as convinced about it, but I think when you're number 1 in both the key metrics, that it's worth the discussion. Mississippi State and Kentucky are sitting in scoreboard watching and wondering, where do we stand in all this? I think I've got an answer for you. So those are all things we'll unpack. We'll look ahead to today's 2 games and maybe Saturday's a little bit too. And again, we're here to serve you guys, talk about what you want to talk about, and get into everything that's interesting to you. Graham Doty, let me start with you. Where would you like to lead off today? Thanks for joining us. You're at the OVC tournament. I don't know how you're even here with all the work you've been doing, but glad you are.
I think for me, like before the tournament started, right, we touched on 3 teams need to make some noise: Tennessee, Alabama, and Ole Miss. And to me, Tennessee has done the most damage so far. They played Alabama head-to-head, beat them, and then they won that marathon game that went 12 innings the other night against Texas. So, like, to me, if I'm Tennessee, like, they got to feel really, really good about where they are now, especially being able to host and not potentially having to go on the road. That stands out to me. And then, like, I don't think any of us can figure out what in the world is going on at Texas A&M. So, like, if they win this whole thing, would anybody be surprised just with the season that they've had? Now, the injury to Jace is significant, so I don't know. Like, it's been a fun tournament so far. The Ole Miss Florida game was fun just because you got the 2 dudes on the mound, and it wasn't your typical like early game in the tournament. So that was fun. By the way, Sam, did you go to Tennessee Tech? What happened? Braga got tossed in the 4th inning. It's the first time he's been tossed in a game in 11 years, by the way.
Are they done?
So the way the OVC tournament is designed, the top 2 seeds get a double bye, and their first game you start in the double elimination side of the bracket. Everybody else is single elimination. So Tennessee Tech, they were the 3 seed, and yeah, they lost.
Yeah. You get a
All
shout
right,
out
my first
Sam
2
here.
takeaways center on our man Chris Lee. All right, he is in the war room at the Lee compound right now with implicit instructions to everybody in his family that unless you have an appendage hanging on by a thread, do not bother me. Second, if he's not looking at a single other bracket, and we have no reason not to doubt this, I can so see 3rd grade Chris Lee being the guy who covered up his paper on every spelling test to make certain nobody got any glimpse of Chris Lee's work.
Yeah. Speaking of work, I've got a stack of brackets from other conferences printed out too, just to follow at, just to make sure we miss nothing here. So, yeah. Let's start with A&M. How much is too much to bite off now? They've got to win what? 3 more games. They burn Ryan Prager. I mean, maybe they can bring him back for a few pitches Sunday if they get there. Grohovac's been out all season. Sorrell's out now, and now Laviolette. I just think that, I don't know, man. I think there's too much water under the bridge in terms of the roster for them to make it. But hey, would that not be the most A&M thing of 2025 if they did?
Yeah, it'd be honestly, it'd be really hilarious if they are able to do it. So I don't really think that it would impact SEC teams by any means as far as like who's hosting, who's going where. I think it would really be a major blow to some of these group of 5 teams, especially the ones that are on the bubble and everything.
Yeah.
All of that was completely fair, Chris, especially about the injuries. But I think the biggest hurdle in front of them now is they're about to call on every arm that's ever even driven through College Station, and they're about to see a river of aces.
Yep. Starting with Kate Anderson today. It just feels weird. Like the SEC tournament is now in day 4, and we're not going to see LSU till tonight. And I like the format, I do, but it is odd. The more I think about it, I do. Yeah.
I won't lie. Like it's taken a lot for me to get, situated with it. Like yesterday I was like, okay, what time does Ole Miss and Arkansas play? And I was looking, and I was like, did I miss it? What happened? Nope. They just played today. They're the first game today.
Yeah. I'll tell you what I do like, and this is a pet peeve of mine about baseball. Like in the major leagues, you go the whole year. And you could, you get somebody in the wild card round. Well, not wild card. You like in round 2, like that you might have beaten 12 times out of 15. It might have finished 30 games better than. And it's still you got to win a long series by 1 game, and you only get a 1 game of home field advantage. I've never thought that was fair. That's kind of what I like about this is I think this bracket does reward the teams that really did work during the regular season.
I think the head coaches are going to like it too, just because of what Josh is saying right here. Like it allows you to manage your arms, and like it's way more of a benefit for your pitching staff.
And conversely, both UTs yesterday may have found a piece they're going to use in the attempts to get to Omaha in the next 2 weeks with the spot starter that Texas used and the little used guy who came out of the bullpen for Tennessee who threw 5 perfect innings. The only bad throw he made all day was the pickoff throw to first in the 10th.
Yeah. Brandon Arvidson?
Yeah.
Yeah, who's really talented and has been pretty good, but I think that was his longest outing of the year. I think that had to be the major point of encouragement for Tennessee. Well, that and Dean Curley didn't have the yips yesterday. Those are 2 things that I think if you're Tennessee, you're feeling better about this morning.
Well, and I also think Tennessee feels better about their grit. I mean, they've been a bulldozer, especially early in the year, and they were happy to blow teams out. But then they get into some of these tighter games, some of these sphincter clinching games, and the lug nuts loosen. Yesterday, they answered the bell.
I think the other thing, the Liam Doyle, I mean, that's the thing that you're really worried about if you're Tennessee. He wasn't effective. He gave up 6 hits in 3 2/3. What was it? The fastball that teams were just laying off. I was kind of in and out for that game with some stuff at home, but was listening when I wasn't watching. So that's 2 straight starts. Sam says they better get the blister fixed. I agree. I think that if that's still an issue, I'm not quite sure why you pitched him there. I mean, I understand why you're trying to host, which, by the way, I think now. Well, I'll get to that in a minute, but playing home, playing away, if you're Tennessee, your chances of getting out of a regional go up immensely if Liam Doyle is healthy. And if he's not, I mean, Tennessee's been having problems winning series anyway, right? Even with Doyle healthy most of that time. So there's that. No, Josh brings up another point. It's not just Arvidson. A.J. Russell was really good on, what was it, Wednesday? Yeah, Wednesday also. So there's that. But those guys both, and I guess this is good and bad, right? Those guys both threw season-long outings in the tournament, which is good. Like, you want to see your pitchers build up to that. But maybe that's a little bit of an indictment, too, on the trust of other arms. I guess you can look at it multiple ways.
Well, I mean, maybe this is what they've been saving A.J. Russell for, for moments like this. This is the time of year. I mean, it seems like he's on a pitch count as far as innings go. And, if you put him in the bullpen, don't really start him the rest of the way, I mean, he can easily give you 3 to 4 in relief.
And, I mean, yes, blisters are a huge deal for pitchers. Dude was throwing 99. I mean, let's not act like it just may have been a rocky outing to a really good hitting Texas team that made him work. I mean, yeah. Dude was still running it up there 99.
Yeah. I do think he's going to have to learn to amp it down. I mean, talking to a hitter in the middle of an inning after you strike him out.
Yeah, Chris, that's not happening. You saw what he did on social media after the game.
You sent me – did he send a tweet during the game?
Not during the game.
Not during. Okay.
But, it doesn't seem like that's on the table.
Yeah. Yeah. I think they are – they're their own worst enemy.
That could be the line that Tony V would actually have to put his foot down. If we're tweeting from the dugout, even as much as a player's coach and advocate as Tony V is, that one would probably rub him wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, what was the tweet? I didn't see it. I mean, I glanced at it, but I didn't digest it. Oh, yeah.
With an arrow down.
Oh, got you. Well, I got they might run into them again in Austin. I think that's a definite possibility. Because, and let's just go here, okay? Because this is what people are really looking for.
Let kids be.
If I were doing the pairing for the tournament right now, I would probably have Tennessee somewhere between the 13th and 15th national seed. Now, again, I have not looked at anybody else's stuff. I don't know what D1 said this morning. D1 hinted around at some changes. A lot of people were speculating that was Tennessee. I talked to those guys off the record. Mark Etheridge, Kendall, those guys know way more about putting a bracket together than I do. But the feeling was going to this tournament that they had to win 2 or 3. And this is where I talk out of both sides of my mouth a little bit, and you'll see why when I'm done. I'm not big on just judging everybody by series wins, right? I think single games where you pick up one and you don't get swept, that doesn't count enough sometimes in the rankings. At the same time, we are about to enter a time where baseball is going to be, if you're going to win the national championship, you're going to have to win a series every weekend, starting with the regional. Now, it's a little different than the regional, but you're going to have to win a lot of best 2 out of 3 type scenarios going forward. And Tennessee faltered in those opportunities down the stretch, 6 and 7. I think the people that look at it that way are skeptical that Tennessee's got a shot. I think if you look at it metrics-wise, and that's kind of what I like to do. I like, what do the numbers tell me? And then once I see them, how do I argue in, okay, those don't tell the story, these other parts do, and then how do I use a little bit of common sense? In other words, okay, the committee's looking to spread out regionals, and have they left you a reason? Now, look, Tennessee has left some reasons, right? One thing they could pick on is the non-conference strength of schedule, which was what? 218 overall. That's not good.
Tennessee's was?
Yeah, but that I'll be honest, that feels a little arbitrary to me when you're playing an SEC schedule. I just have never. Okay, well, great, because let's look at Kentucky on the other hand. Okay, if Kentucky had lost a couple more non-conference games, they wouldn't be in the discussion for this, probably, right? So you're going to take your beating in the SEC. You're going to get judged for losing some games there. Part of me doesn't blame a team for scheduling some easy series out of conference. Sometimes the schedule, too, doesn't play out the way that you thought it would. And I don't think Tennessee's was a killer schedule by any stretch. And some of it, too, is your midweeks, right? It's easier to schedule RPI probably on the West Coast in the midweeks with some of the Big West teams, the West Coast Conference teams, where like even the bad teams have hundreds in the RPIs in the hundreds instead of the 200s. That's a lot of talking here. What I'm trying to say is I think if you look at RPI and KPI, where Tennessee is 10-8 today, overall strength of schedule is still 14, even with that non-conference strength of schedule. Tennessee is now 18-14 against SEC teams, 16-14 in regular season, and did not have a loss in quad 2 or 3. That to me is a regional team, a regional host. Maybe towards the bottom end. I don't think that's unfair given the way Tennessee played on the weekends late in the year. But the metrics are what they are, and if it's me, I'm giving him a host today.
I would too, just because they beat two really, really good teams. They beat a Bama team, which is in the conversation to do all this. So they beat them head to head, and then you bounce back, and your very next game you beat a top 5 team in Texas on a neutral field. So yeah. I think they're in great shape. I see in the chat they're saying D1 has Tennessee paired up with Arkansas as a 2-15 matchup. Okay. So they just played each other, a week ago? So, yeah. They literally just did that.
I think they're headed towards a rematch with Arkansas or Vanderbilt, one of the two.
And they just played Vandy too, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And that was 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. Yeah. And lose today, or lose tomorrow to Vanderbilt, it's the number 1 RPI team. It's not like that's going to hurt you.
All right, Josh has a super chat.
Could Doyle be tipping pitches? Sure. That was talked about on the broadcast. I don't know. Look, I know, Josh, I know you and Sam are a little war here about the blister thing, but Sam's usually got some stuff. You might just give it a listen. So, I don't know. That could be part of it. Whatever it is, he's not the same guy, and they've got to get him right between now and a regional.
Also, Josh, so we're at the point in the season, every game is on TV. So this is part of the game. So I talk to players, I talk to coaches all the time. So you literally sit down with your coaching staff, you watch film, you have meetings hey, we're kind of picking this up. Whenever you're about to fire this pitch, this is what you do. So be aware of that, be cautious. So teams and coaches and pitchers, they literally do get together. Okay, this is what we're going to do. As opposed to you doing this when you're about to throw a slider, we need to start to do this.
Yeah. But by the way, if you're Tennessee, here's what you're watching. If I were ranking it this morning, I think, and I've said this before, I think right now, if I'm doing it, my top 12 seeds in order, probably Texas, Arkansas, Vanderbilt, North Carolina, Georgia, Auburn, LSU, Oregon. That's my top 8. Then Oregon State, Coastal Carolina, Clemson, Florida State. I think those are all pretty much cinches. You could maybe argue Florida State, but I think a 17-10 Florida State team in the ACC with that brand is going to get a regional. Next, I've got UCLA and Georgia Tech, 13-14, just because I think they've given the committee things to sink their teeth into. UCLA has split a regular season championship. Georgia is the outright ACC champion, although it caught the softer end of the schedule, and both those teams are still alive in their conference tournaments. So that's a big thing. Then I think you get to a tier where I think Tennessee has jumped Alabama, and then you've got other teams. I think Ole Miss is going to be a big one today. By the way, UCLA has got Iowa in the Big Ten tournament tomorrow, and Georgia Tech has got Clemson. So Georgia Tech in particular, if it beats Clemson, that RPI is going to climb into hosting range potentially. Right now, Georgia Tech's RPI is 20. Its KPI is 13. So that's one to watch. Keep your eye on Georgia Tech and Clemson tomorrow. Again, I think Clemson is already in. You've got Dallas Baptist is still alive in the Conference USA tournament. RPI now 18. KPI now 20. Definitely hosting range should you want to do that as a committee. They've got, I think, either Jacksonville State or Louisiana Tech on Saturday. Ole Miss and Arkansas today will be a big one. I think if Ole Miss wins that one, Ole Miss probably remains in the conversation. If it does not, probably not. Numbers for the Rebels are 17 RPI and 12 KPI. Then we've got TCU. I'm just not as big on TCU's resume and its team as other people are, but some people have had TCU hosting. However, both the key numbers, RPI, KPI, have fallen out of the top 16, 19 and 17 this morning. Southern Miss, kind of a trendy host pick. I don't really see it. Although the DSR's got Southern Miss at 14, I think, as of this morning. So that's an indication of a strong team. Go ahead.
Kendall Rogers, like, he flat out said, like, they got D1 has Southern Miss hosting, and they got Ole Miss the 2 in that regional.
Okay.
And he said he's doing it because Southern Miss's AD's on the committee.
Oh,
I mean,
okay. Well, yeah.
Like he said he doesn't really know anything. Like that's the direction that he's going, just because Jeremy McLean is on the committee.
Well, they're in range. They're 21 RPI, 27 KPI. They have got, let's see, either Troy or Old Dominion Saturday. Troy's a team kind of trying to hang on to the bubble there and get in. And then the other two teams that I think are in consideration, UC Irvine potentially 23 RPI, 30 KPI, and West Virginia 27 RPI, 29 KPI. Both won their conferences, both still alive in their conference tournaments. I think is one of the last 3 to 4 standing in each case. I don't think the resume for West Virginia is that great. DSR, which again does not count, but it's a pretty good indicator of team strength. It's got both those teams in the mid-20s. So I would not have either of them hosting. But if you're looking for a little geographic diversity or conference diversity,
didn't Trump outlaw that?
You could do it. I think he did. So scratch that. Scratch that. We will not be seeing West Virginia or UC Irvine hosting. Forget that was ever uttered. Hope no one was listening.
How do you feel about UCLA? Like, do you think they really deserve, or is this like we got to get a West Coast team, a regional?
I think we got to get a West Coast team, a regional. I mean, they're 3-7 in Quad 1. Best series win they had was Southern. Well, they didn't even beat Southern Cal in a series. They beat them, I guess, in one-off games a couple of times. Lost the series to Irvine, lost the series at Oregon. I don't think they're in, but when you're top 16 KPI and RPI, and you need somebody out west, I think that's an easy one for the committee to say, hey, we like that, and you're in.
The other part about making certain somebody hosts out west is you feed the beast that is the TV portals. So you can you can have somebody in that 11 o'clock Eastern on ESPNQ or the Ocho with Cotton, and Cotton needs their shorts. I mean, so you can figure out a way to overload your TV partners.
Jay Moonshine wants to know how many PBRs you drank in the 90s.
90s, I'd started my bookieing days, so I drank a little bit better than PBR, but too many to count.
Have we told the bookie story on air?
I don't know, man.
You may not
I
want
need to get a little comfortable and get like an extended contract from T before I start delving into some of these stories.
I get it.
I saw Charles Barkley was talking about his bookie today. Like, he spends so much money that FanDuel and all those can't take him, so he has a customized bookie. That's when you know level.
That's when you might have a problem.
My roommate at the fraternity house was a guy named Tex Blair, and he was bigger than me, and at that time I was about 250 plus. We took the challenge of locking ourselves in our fraternity house room with a keg of beer, and we didn't come out until we were finished.
How was the aftermath of that?
Well, actually, it was 2 days ago. No, I'm just kidding. I thankfully know my kids don't care about SEC baseball, so they're not watching this. But hey, you're only young once, but you try not to be dumb forever, you know?
T-shirt.
Right. Yes, that's tremendous. Excuse me. Oh, Jay. Somebody wants if can Tennessee go back to back if they of course they can. I mean, Ole Miss won the whole thing in 22. It's just the if. Do you trust them to show up consistently and do the stuff that wins ball games? And here's the thing. You get to Omaha, you're playing in a big park, which, by the way, Tennessee's won 2 games in a big park. But you've also seen some of the issues, too. You've seen the overthrows to first, sometimes put a guy on third instead of second. And so they're just going to have to be consistent and lock it down on the field, which we just haven't seen them do consistently in a bit.
Yeah, I agree. The chat wants 90s Jay. Guys, that's a different video. That's members only. That's a separate
No, that's
video.
only fans, brother. that ain't members only. No, sir.
All right. We will definitely not be expanding on that then. Moving along now. Let's see. I thought Vandy looked really good last night, guys. Got some breaks. Oklahoma melted down defensively. But, hey, you're looking up, and here's Vanderbilt's bullpen last night. Let me just pull it up. And this is after JD Thompson goes 5 innings, gives up 1 earned run, strikes out 11. Luke Guth goes a perfect inning. Levi Huesman gets all 5 hitters. Gets 5 of the 7 hitters he faced. He's gone from kind of a lefty-only guy to a guy that they can use against a lot of teams. And then Hawks comes in and nails it down on 26 pitches, which is enough, I think, for him to come back against Tennessee on Saturday. Vandy, I thought looked pretty good last night. Beat Cade Crossland, who'd beaten them in the regular season, and heads on for what I think will be must-watch TV on Saturday against Tennessee.
Jay, you're muted.
Sam says he'd pay good money to go to Vegas with me. All right, so I got a Vegas story. Go out there with my wife, and she gets food poisoning. And I'm not saying this in a true hangover type of way because there was not any type of shenanigans. But I'm out there for the APSE convention, which is the Associated Press Sports Editors thing. And our speaker, and I can at times be charismatic and funny and had a couple of cocktails flowing. And we had won early, which is the important thing about every Vegas trip is to get up early. And so do you want to take a guess who I spent the night gambling with? Lennox Lewis, who was the current heavyweight champion of the world at the time. And I'm sitting there thinking, I can't keep up with this dude. I mean, because he's got money to burn. But I'm also going to stand there going, I'm the white dude in Lennox Lewis's circle right now. This is boss.
Wow. Lennox, how long ago was this?
Goodness gravy. Early 2000s, maybe?
Okay. Back when Lennox Lewis was still – when did he quit fighting?
He fought Mike Tyson in like 03, something like that, in Memphis.
And he may not have been the champ. I'm not entirely certain, but it was still Lennox Lewis.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
That's pretty cool. Pitch it. Go ahead, Graham.
Chris, so you bring up Vandy. Let me ask you this. Is it possible that this Vandy team is just like flying under the radar? I feel like nobody really talks about them, and you said it. They got a chance to be the number 1 or number 2 overall seed.
Yeah, I think they are. I still think perception's going to be that they're not Arkansas or LSU or probably Texas, although Texas is getting to be a more interesting conversation with every loss. I mean, they just don't win like the teams have won lately that have dominated college baseball. They don't have a Skeens or an ace at the top. They don't have just mashers up and down the lineup or a Jack
Steve Johnson
Caglione or
looked
somebody
that
like
part
that.
yesterday, Chris.
Well, he did, and the difference is with him, it's 93 to 95 and not 99 to 100.
I forget who said it because you guys are great with the chat, by the way. But somebody said, "Is Vandy being overlooked, or are they just boring?" And success can be boring. I mean, for God's sakes, why do you think everybody in the '70s ran the wishbone? Nobody really wanted to see it, but nobody could really stop it either.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's Greg German in the chat. They aren't under the radar. They're just boring. Well, sometimes boring teams win. I mean, how good were the Spurs forever?
I think people just take for granted the stuff that they do, like field and things like that, because they make those things look easy. And pitch with depth. They bring in arm after arm of guys that can throw and throw pretty well. Again, you saw some of it last night. If you want a reminder of how tough that is to do, just go turn on any game going on at the moment in any other league and see these pinball scores where guys are bringing in guys that have thrown 6 innings all year with a 19 ERA. Vanderbilt doesn't get to that point. And I think they're just parts of baseball that they make look easy. The other thing, too, and shout out to this guy. Do you ever go to boysworld.com, Graham? You know what that site is, right? boysworld.com.
Holy God, you can't do that on a work computer. Boysworld.com?
BOYD, Jay.
Boyd. Boyd's
Boyd.
World.
Boyd.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't even want to know what's at the other one. And I'm not going to find out. But thank you for taking that one in the gutter, Jay.
Well,
boydsworld.com. I ran on him at the SEC tournament, and he's run a power rating site for a year. But one thing he's always done that I really like is park factors, which they do in the major league level. For college, they're really hard to do. And he hadn't run them for a while because COVID kind of got in the way, and you got to use you need 4 years of stuff. The park factor for Vanderbilt in 100 is normal. Gosh. I'm going to close the chat for a minute.
Boysworld.com.
So I don't get, anyway. Their park factor is a 73. And it's hard to put up big run totals there, which are what gets you headlines a lot of places. The brand of ball they play does not get headlines, but they're really good and effective at it. I think their offense is a little better than people think because the park holds it down. But, boy, they're about to play 2 series in their park should they win the first. And then they're going to Omaha, which is going to play really well to the way their team is built. Like, they lock it down defensively for the most part. And they got a bunch of guys who can pitch it well. They are really set up well for postseason. Now, here's your problem. If you get down, although they did this too, right? They just had that, stretch of games where they walked everybody off with home runs. I don't think day in and day out they're as capable of doing that as Georgia or Tennessee or LSU or some of the teams that they might run up against down the line. And that could be a problem for them. That if there's an undoing, that'll be their undoing. But, boy, they do a lot of stuff really well that flies under the radar.
I know the clock's ticking, and I know we want to preview the action ahead of us today. But I think one more talking point. Did Auburn run the risk of costing themselves a national seed yesterday?
I mean, it could happen, but I don't think it's going to. I've got him at 6 right now. I think LSU, by winning another game or two, could leapfrog them. The issue with LSU right now is Auburn swept them, and so I've slotted them behind LSU for that reason. Also, Auburn's got a higher RPI and KPI. But you start looking at the teams that could pass them. I mean, Oregon, maybe if it wins both, could jump them. I'm a little skeptical of that. Somebody from the ACC, if Clemson or Florida State pop up and win it, especially Clemson potentially with where the RPI and KPI are. But, man, number one strength of schedule in the country, 15 quad one wins. They did have some bad losses, 3 in quad 3. If you're looking for something there, that could be it. But played a strong out of conference schedule. To me, if I'm betting my life on it, and again, what goes in, what is to come is going to factor in. But even with that, I would take Auburn to go 2 weekends at home.
I would too. I think I'd just be more worried about their pitching than, where they're going to play and all that stuff.
Oh, no, we'll break down the warts. I'm just talking about, I was asking the metrics man who's crunching numbers and visiting boysworld.com.
Gosh. If we get kicked off the internet anytime soon, you may thank Jay Greason for all this.
Hey,
all right.
Wouldn't be hey. There are a whole lot of things that fall in my lap, and I'm happy. But dang it, where is this diving into now?
I don't know, but let's go here. How worried are we about Sam Dutton?
So to me, I wonder, this is the most that he's pitched in a very long time. I'm just curious if he's starting to get fatigued a little bit and just needs a little reset. I don't know. I mean, I think he's still got enough gas in the tank, but it is an adjustment. Like when you go from not pitching a lot to being the guy and your innings go way up, it is an adjustment period for your right arm.
In both directions, physically, and if you're in a place to have enough pitches when the book gets more and more detailed about you. I mean, we had a conversation earlier about whether Liam Doyle was tipping pitches. Well, you start pitching in the tournament, and you're already pitching against people you've seen. I mean, hitters get more and more comfortable with your repertoire. And who on their bingo chat had hemorrhoid being a word used in the chat on their bingo card? Because, I mean, hey, I'm not saying that I agree with the post. What I am saying is visor tip to the diction.
You know how you know when Vanderbilt's kind of become relevant to everyone again? When the Whistler talk heats up again. And it has.
It's two times. It's SEC tournament time because you got every fan base watching. And then it's when they make it to Omaha.
Here's a thought I've just kind of put together thinking through this. Liam Doyle is kind of hitting a bit of a wall for whatever reason. More innings than he's ever thrown. Sam Dutton, same thing. Cade Anderson really hasn't yet at LSU, but I mean, you might want to watch for that. I think Anderson threw in the 20s or 30s last year. He's up into the 80s now or close to it. You might want to keep an eye on that when workloads are hitting a place where they haven't been before, because you're seeing some of these guys. Now I'll tell you one who's not is Kyson Witherspoon, but I think he's also been close to that before. But just a thing to keep your eye on for postseason.
Well, to that end, though, he introduced a fifth pitch. And
right.
If we are going to present both sides to be journalistically fair about the Vandy superfan, do you know who loves him? The Whistler's mother.
Yeah.
Who was expecting a literary joke, huh?
You never know what's next. Oh, let's see, guys. What have we not hit?
Who's
We've
pitching
hit,
today?
You got Cade Anderson for LSU. Who's going for Ole Miss today, Graham?
If I had to guess, probably Riley Maddox, just because
that's what I would guess.
Just because Ole Miss really needs this one. I mean, if they started Hunter Elliott 2 nights ago, probably going to go with Maddox. I haven't seen anything officially announced, though.
Lampkin pitched yesterday.
And pitched well.
Yeah. So I would think that oh, good grief, who's their West Coast control guy? A&M's. Their third guy all year.
The biggest
I'll look it
baseball
up.
story nobody is talking about. Did you see Rich Hill pitch like 6 scoreless innings yesterday at 45 in the Royals minor league?
Are you kidding me?
No.
Miles
It was
Patton's the
unbelievable.
name for A&M I'm thinking about. Sorry, that's who will go for A&M. I would have to bet on it. Rich Hill,
Yes.
Lefty, isn't he lefty?
Yes.
yeah. That guy has made a living as a late bloomer. Like when he throws, he's thrown really well for 10 or 12 years now.
Sam, he's not older than me. I appreciate the love. I'm getting in the age range here, but boys, I'm 54. I just act like I'm 26. Occasionally.
Occasionally. Jamie Moore's gonna. That's what I thought too. So we got that. What are the pitching matchups? Let's say we just talk. Who's Arkansas throwing today?
Let me see if I can find it.
I bleed orange. Chris is 37 going on 64.
Yep. Jay and I are the same age.
Root. It's Root for the Hogs.
Zach
today.
Root. Okay. Oh, that of course.
I am Root.
That movie, it's worth a rewatch. Yeah, I mean, of course it's Root. Arkansas hasn't played yet.
That's funny, Greg. He said he thinks it's going to be an Alloy or a cousin.
Yeah, that could happen. I'm watching some of these other tournaments.
Football scores.
Yeah, and like again, it's back to we were on the topic of boring baseball. Baseball becomes boring when you do difficult things and make them look routine. Bill James said something once that really stuck with me. He said, if every batter pitcher interaction in baseball was Barry Bonds and Roger Clemens, it wouldn't be that interesting. Like, it would. They're two guys that are top of their game, and they just make it look easy. And so because you have no other bar of comparison. Like Roger Clemens, when he faces, everybody else, is dominating, and Barry Bonds, when he's not facing Clemens, is putting up monster offensive numbers. You need the lesser players to make you appreciate how good the great ones are. And I think the same can be said of some of these other tournaments we're watching. And then flip over to the SEC and stuff again that we take for granted. Well, these guys have played baseball all their life too. They're just not as good at it.
Well, the difference is the pitching, right? I mean, you see it in these Group of 5 conferences, and like somebody mentioned, I think it was the MAC conference where they had a score. It was like 19-17 yesterday or something like that. Like
somebody got
go for
22.
Did they go for 2?
Yeah,
I
think so.
They wanted the over. But it's all about pitching. Like that's the difference between the SEC and everybody else. Somebody asked some questions. Randy Peterson asking about Auburn. If they're still top 8 seed. We just touched on this, Randy. I think we all kind of think that they're definitely going to host a regional and super regional. Like their numbers are still good, even though that they didn't win the other day. Hunter Johnson asked if Southern Miss going to end up hosting at this point. We touched on this as well. I know D1 has them hosting, but Kendall Rogers has said publicly that he did that because he knows Southern Miss's athletic director is on the committee. So I kind of think Southern is going to be on the outside looking in, hosting-wise. I just think they're going to be a booger bear of a 2 seed somewhere, but they could host.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, speaking of pitching, you may not have caught this because it was late. Oklahoma threw Dylan Tate last night. First time he's thrown all year, was touching 97 and 98, was throwing strikes, pitched to 4 batters, got 3 of them out, ended up with a scoreless inning. You see some pop-up pitchers this late in the year that can help you in postseason. Keep an eye on that one.
It was 22-18 Oakland over Youngstown State.
Yeah.
Jeez.
I don't think you can. I get it. I just can't see Florida hosting.
But I could see them being in like a very favorable draw for them.
Yeah.
Including
potentially being the 2 in Tallahassee.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Sam wants to know who Vanderbilt throws tomorrow. They'll go Cody Bowker, I'm pretty sure. They just, they started with Thompson. Bowker was there too. And then I don't know what Sunday would be if they get there. I don't know if they'll go Austin Nye. They could start Connor Fennell. I like having Fennell just ready for whenever. And Bowker struggled lately. I would be surprised if Bowker gets into the 5th or maybe into the 6th. Well, probably even into the 5th against Tennessee. He's just that may be another kid who's hit a wall. But Vanderbilt's got plenty left in reserve.
By the way, I looked at the numbers for Doyle. So Doyle almost more innings pitched this season than his previous 2 as a freshman and sophomore combined.
Okay.
Jay, they want you. Randy Peterson says you should be a comedian. Just wanted you to feel good.
Well, I appreciate that. And yesterday, Graham, you weren't here, but an Arkansas fan got ticked at me and called me a clown. And I've said I've been called a clown all my life. And then said I had a clown haircut. So I spent some time getting my hair did today. And now he's not around because I don't have a clown haircut. I look like I could be the guy who's sitting down in your tax office and saying, let's talk about your retirement. Yeah. And, well, it is what it is.
What happened? What was he upset about? Hey, I did watch your cooking. You really did a great job, Breakfast and Baseball. If you haven't watched it, if you're watching in the chat, go back and watch it. Jay crushed it.
Well, we're talking about if I'm still around in the fall, and that's both just in the grand scheme of things, because as Keith Olbermann famously said, it's the most accurate thing that Jack Wagons ever said in his life. He's so-and-so's day-to-day, but aren't we all? I feel like we're going to have to do a tailbacks and tailgating weekly segment because the fat kid can grill now. Seriously.
Yeah, that's why it's cliche for a reason. Don't trust a skinny
No, Josh, I didn't do it shirtless. And I've not been shirtless. I just had that really dirty T-shirt on inside out one time. Hey, and if you want to make certain that I don't have to wear dirty T-shirts, subscribe.
Jay's making threats.
Chris, what you think about Hunter Johnson just asked a question. We touched on the rumors that are going on at South Carolina.
I think it's safe to say if we had to bet who's going to be the coach at South Carolina, Paul Maneri versus the field, we'd take the latter.
Well, did you guys see somebody reported that he's coming back? So I don't know how dialed in. I can't remember who reported it, but I wouldn't lean any way one way or the other until you see something officially from the university.
Yeah, that's a weird situation in a few ways.
Greasing with greasing. There you go.
Dude, hey, long line of family history of where using bacon grease. Hey, when I make my green beans and they're really good, as I'm soaking them, about a half a scoop of bacon grease.
Man.
There you go.
What's your grilling situation? Do you use what do you use, Jay?
I have multiple. I have a green egg, I have a gas grill, and I have a Blackstone.
Okay.
And there's a lot of times, especially when the weather's nice here in Chattanooga, I'll make breakfast on the Blackstone standing out on the porch. And yes, friends, I could be shirtless. Heck, I could be pantsless. We've got great cover all the way around, and it's okay. I'm just standing out there just flipping pancakes, and Chris is checking in on Boys World, and Graham, we just got to uncover your skeleton, see what you got deep buried in there, and there we go.
All right, I'm putting this in the chat just to remove any confusion, especially for the latecomers.
Yeah.
Somebody just asked me, what beer do I drink in the shower? You guys may not believe this, but there was a time in my life that was not an out of bounds question, but I've quit drinking.
Yeah, that's got a D in it, Josh. Say it loudly. Oh, Lord.
Josh also asked about Mississippi State, by the way. It sounds like the top two candidates, especially now since Wes Johnson just re-signed with Georgia, it sounds like 1A, 1B, you're looking at O'Connor in Virginia and then Waz at Oregon.
I would believe Waz before I would believe O'Connor. Wouldn't you? Based on no information.
Yeah. If I'm a State fan, I would just be nervous about with the O'Connor stuff. Is this legit or is he using us for leverage? You know?
Hey, fill us in here, SC Scout guy. I'm not sure. Does anybody know what that's referring to?
Also, are you talking about Derek?
I don't know. Oh, is LSU Shreveport the team that's like been undefeated and what level are they at? D2?
Hold on, I'll look it up.
I think I saw a tweet on this the other day.
And Josh Waz at Oregon, he was an assistant coach at Florida. He's a nomad. He's kind of bouncing around everywhere.
Yeah, this is what I thought. They're 54-0. That's
Jeez.
Nuts.
What level?
There's some good baseball in that state. Like LSU Eunice is like a JUCO power, and
yeah, they are. They pumped out a lot of talent for sure. Sam says, "Watch out for Eric Bakich at State." I know he's on the list. Again, it's kind of similar situation. Like, how real is it versus what coach is using what for leverage?
Oh, okay. I did see the first part of that. Yeah, I read kind of the lead 7 or 8 paragraphs, and then I had to get ready for the show. So
they interviewed over a dozen players. It must be juicy, man.
Yeah. The vibes there were not good, and I don't say that with any joy. I have nothing against Paul Maneri. He's always, like, I've never dealt with him, but like Alfred has, he's been nice to him. So I have no dog in this hunt. But I don't know. It just doesn't feel like that is going to be sustainable for a few reasons.
Yeah.
Fair, Graham?
Yes, Finn in the chat, like he said, Maneri's first year at LSU wasn't impressive. He'll turn South Carolina around. Yeah, that's accurate about the LSU part. Just that was, how many years ago was that?
That 15. Was 16 years ago.
Yeah,
I think.
I mean, long time ago.
Yeah, lots has happened since then.
Yeah, lots has changed.
I'm about to turn into Cinderella, boys. We got parting thoughts?
Yeah. Let's see if there's anything I had in the show notes that I didn't get to. Oh, I know what I wanted to get to. Mississippi State and Kentucky. I've kept a watch on that. I think State is probably a 3 now, but firmly in the field. And Kentucky, I mean, well, they went 13-17 in the league. And let me pull it up just to make sure I've got it right.
To me, if you're a Kentucky fan, you don't want A&M to win the tournament. Like,
yeah, well, I don't know. In 29 and 24, but man, when you look at the other, like everybody in their area on the bubble, above or below, is had pretty much a bad week. I mean, I think Oklahoma State's won a couple of games, but like, let's see. Here you go. Here's the rundown. Miami, done. Cincinnati, done. Mississippi State, done. Arizona State, done. Kansas State, done. Oklahoma State, done. Virginia, done. Notre Dame, done. All done before Friday. Now, the thing that, the Big East, you still got the 3 teams that had a shot all playing. I'm not sure all of them are going to make it, but I still think Kentucky's safe because there's been carnage all over the 3-seed range this week. Mm-hmm. So I've got Kentucky. If it were me, the cut line is team 44. I've got Kentucky at 38, and I could even argue with the metrics to have them higher.
So they're right there. Josh, what's your winners for today? Who are you picking?
I'm riding the favorites heavy today, and if you find them not just on the money line, on the run line, I'd especially load up in a betting parlance. If this is your cup of tea, love LSU in the first 5 with Cade Anderson going against anybody that could even be Johnny Football pitching for Texas A&M today. So, and I think Arkansas is complete. And it's been a great run for Ole Miss, but the guy who called me a clown aside, Arkansas deserves their flowers. And we're crazy to the point that considering the way they've kind of limped along and you lose your one and the team that ran away and hid in Texas may be no better than the 4th team in this league behind LSU, Arkansas, and Vandy right now.
Yeah. I think A&M's capable of winning today. The problem is you're looking at Cade Anderson in a bullpen that's a lot fresher, and now you're without your center fielder. But stranger stuff's happened, and I will also go Arkansas against Ole Miss.
Jay, are you touching this bet parlay that the Tennessee infield makes 7 errors in the regional weekend?
If I could find that over-under, hell yes I am. I mean, dear Lord. They got more boots than Daniel Day-Lewis getting ready for that terrible movie where he had to use his feet.
My left foot?
That one, yes.
What is this? I have no idea.
And hey, Bo, to your point, you want all the yahoos like me, all the blowhards like me, all the clowns like me to be picking Texas A&M because for whatever reason, obviously Michael Early's not motivating them. And when they hear that they can't do something, by God, they go do it because they're a really talented baseball team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would take LSU, especially after the injury to Jace for A&M. And then remember the Ole Miss Arkansas series was bananas at Swayze Field this year, like all 3 games. So I'll take Ole Miss. I don't know if this game is going to be wild and crazy like the other 3 were, but just give me Ole Miss. This is an Ole Miss team. It's like I don't know how they just pull these games out, but they just win. They just win some of these games.
Yeah.
And
all right,
one other side note before you wrap us up here, Chris, because I know we're getting to the witching hour. Guys, I don't know if y'all noticed or not, but it's something I'm going to do through the rest of our time together whenever I can. I've signed in, and I'm going to respond to your chat so we can have a little more rapid fire back and forth just because we're trying to cover so many bases in what we say. Maybe I can get back to you a little quicker in the to and fro.
All right, we will have more content coming up for you. Goodness gracious, I don't even know how many times we're going to go live in the next couple of weeks. It'll be a lot. We may, I expect we'll do some kind of reaction towards the end of tonight's game. Haven't scheduled it yet. I'm working on some regional pairings and doing a little homework on driving distances because I think that'll have an influence. So want to get that nailed down before I give you the latest draws. I've got it. I'll be keeping an eye on conference tournament stuff today, where that might affect some SEC teams in hosting and seeding and whatever. And, we got all kinds of content coming up. If you haven't subscribed, do that. It's free. Join the membership tier. If you haven't, that's $3 a month. That helps us out. Get you some extra content. And enable your notifications so you know when we do go live, when it is. Anyway, thank you all for listening and watching. God bless you. Have a great weekend. We'll see you again probably tonight with some reaction from tonight's games. Looking forward to it. See you again soon here at Southeastern 16.